All right, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever in the world you are. I'll be right with you in a couple of minutes, just waiting for a few more people to file in here, and then we'll be off and running. So in the meantime, just add on the right-hand side where you're calling in from. I know that we've got members from all over the world, so I'm interested to know where you're calling in from and what's the weather like with you, because it's not very good over here in Manchester, England. So let me know on the right-hand side in the Q&A section, and we'll be starting very soon. All right, as I said, good afternoon, good morning, good evening to you folks. Hope you're well. Let me know on the right-hand side there about I had a couple of messages about only being able to watch this on YouTube. If you hit the link that I sent through on email a couple of minutes ago, you should see the event page. If you click play on the event page, the button in the middle there, that should work. There are no restrictions on this one. So just let me know that that's the case. Just let me know that you can see me, that you can hear me loud and clear, and that you're ready to go. And also where in the world that you are calling in from. So we have Arizona here. Oh man, Elchanon. Sorry if I completely screwed up your name there. Elchanon. I've not seen that one before. Arizona, raining and only 100. I'm taking it that's still quite warm. Got a couple of, so we've got Josh from, wow, that just went. So Josh from Cleveland, so muggy here that I had to call it swampy. Yeah, again, the weather over here in the UK is not great at the moment. It's supposed to be a summer's day. Obviously, we're in mid-August right now. Generally, this type of weather at this time of year, we normally have it okay in May and in September. But hopefully it picks up entering into the weekend. It was quite a nice day last weekend. So Aline says, Liam, the link you just posted also gives watch this video on YouTube, playback on other device, on other websites have been disabled by the video owner. But I'm taking it that you can still see me and hear me in this section here, and on the right you can still ask and answer questions. So this says I have to watch on YouTube, playback on other websites has been disabled by the video owner. They will see it directly from the event page. I have to go to YouTube, stream it up to different tabs so I can still type cues. Weird. I haven't seen that. Yeah, I think everybody's kind of everybody's on the same tip there, watching on YouTube, but able to comment on the right-hand side here in the event page. That's really strange. That's not something that's ever happened before. I can only imagine that is a bit of a foobar Google side, but we shall carry on regardless. As I understand it from here, everybody can see me, everybody can hear me in one channel or another, and the questions are coming through. So on the replay, On the replay, when I push you back to the replay, you can skip to actually the points at which questions are being asked. It's quite a useful feature. So we'll do that as well to make sure that you are getting complete value from this. So again, I think the advice from following on from what a couple of people are saying here on the right-hand side is to watch it on YouTube if it's pushing you straight into YouTube. Like I say, I've not seen that happen before. It's quite strange. And then keep this tab open with the questions on the right-hand side if you need to ask any questions. I'll read them out at every time as well, so don't worry if you're missing something. Okay, let's get into it. So this is August. This is Freelance Live Pro. This is the Freelance Live Pro workshop for August. And the purpose of it really is positioning, is perception, is how you put forward what you do such that it makes the likelihood of getting a client greater. You know, there's lots of ways that you can explain yourself when you're sat in front of a client, or when you sat across from the desk, or if you're on Skype, or talking to them over the phone, or somehow you have a certain way of explaining what it is that you do, explaining the benefits of what you do. And as a result, you either do a good job or a not so good job of doing that. For the most part, when you're talking to somebody, it comes quite naturally. But when it comes to moving out of that sort of face-to-face environment, people struggle with it a little bit. You know, when you are positioning yourself in person, you'll dress a certain way, you'll speak a certain way, you'll handle objections a certain way, you'll handle yourself and the way that you do business a certain way. Sometimes when I see this online, all that just goes out the window. So we revert to lazy headlines, we revert to lazy stock images on sites, we revert to the sort of templated way of delivering a site or a message in the same way that everybody else does it. So as a result, we just blend into the crowd. So this workshop is all about that. It's all about helping you understand the value of perception. So why perception is so important and how that influences a price that a client will pay you. And then from there, looking at how you can influence that. The things that you can do, to influence the perception that a client has of you, aka your positioning. So your messaging, the way that messaging is carried, and then the work that you've done before and how you talk about that. All of these things positively influence what a client will pay you ultimately. So we're going to get started. I've prepared some slides here. Again, let me know if you are if it's completely broken on the right hand side. As I understand it, you're still able to hear me and see me. It's just that the event link for some reason isn't working, and only requesting that you go through YouTube. So again, hopefully everything's coming through clear here. It's being recorded anyway, so I guarantee that you'll get a recording of this. So as I said, understanding perception and understanding how it influences what a client will pay you. Really important to get these things down. Even if the outcome from this session, even if the one thing that you do is change your headline, even if the one thing that you do is change a couple of words on your site, change the way that you talk about what you do, it's going to be a win. That's the theme for this month. The theme for this month is positioning. The things that you can put in place, the things that you can do, the things that you can change that allow a client to see you as. This is why I, in some cases, have a bit of a vendetta for places like Freelance, places like Upwork, as it is now, Fiverr, and so on. They are designed to keep you very similar to everybody else that's on there. Thousands of people, millions of people, all looking the same without really having a unique voice. So what I want to do is empower you really to be able to change that, to be able to go out there and build your own voice, build your own message, and attract your own clients without relying on other people, without relying on a different channel. So with that said, the introduction then, and how this plays into our theme for the month. Here's what we've achieved in the past couple of months. In June, we looked at understanding the client mindset, figuring out, well, what do clients really want? And how can you give that to them in the most efficient way? What are they looking to hear from you? What do they care about? What are their desires, their beliefs, their fears? So to do that, we tackled it within the book, what clients really want. We also chatted a lot on Slack about this. We talked about it in module 3, and that was the kind of reference point for that. And then the workshop in June as well. In July, we looked at attracting attention. So it's all well and good having a solid service, having a solid way of describing that and understanding clearly what a client wants. But If nobody arrives at your site ever, then we're going to need to do something about it. We're not going to be able to convert any of that attention into leads, into something of real value. So in July, we looked at attracting attention and looked at how specifically we can go out there and raise that volume level. We looked at the book, Everything's Easy with Attention, and reviewed module 7, as well as the live workshop for July, live workshop like this one, except with no technical hiccups. So what we'll do today then, well, we're going to hammer home why perception is so important. Big businesses have this locked down, and this is something you'll hear me or see me referring back to quite a lot. The similarities really between small businesses and big businesses. Each one of these has a customer. Each one of these has a need to make profit. Each one of these has a need to position themselves such that they. So there are lots of similarities, and big businesses have this locked down. So we're going to hammer home why perception is so important. We'll do some live reviews of the positioning and the perception that you probably have at this moment in time. So again, if you know we're at a worst case scenario sort of point here, there is a comment section on the main events page which you can drop in your URL to your site, as well as if you click play on that event page as well, you'll be able to see the Q&A on the right hand side. It might be not letting you view the video, but you can look at that through YouTube. But yeah, add in your URL or somewhere else where you are talking about your service, somewhere where you are saying, hey, this is me and here is what I do. I'll review it. I'll look at where you might be struggling with that and the things that you can do to change it fairly quickly. And we'll be doing that live. There'll also be some insights and exercises to improve a client's perception of you. So the questions that you'll need to ask yourself, what makes you different and what do the client really want? I'll give you several questions that will really start to hammer home the things that you should be considering, and then what you need to do about it, what you need to do to bring that into your proposals, bring that into your website, bring that into the marketing, the things that you put out there to the world. Here are the things that you need to do and need to say. And then we'll be looking at bringing it all together into a working web presence. In 2016, we all have a website. In 2016, it's not just going out there and trying to attract business locally, you know, from one method or another. For the most part, what we have online is us, defines us. This is our brand. So if you're not protecting that, if you're not putting in place things that improve that, then you're missing out on a whole tranche of clients, a whole tranche of potential new business. So it's really important to take some of this insight, while it might be a little bit big picture thinking, and boil it down into, okay, copy, what does the headline need to say? What do I need to say thereafter? What should I say after that? And what should I say after that? And how roughly should I lay it out? Here, these are some of the things that we're going to talk about when it comes to your web presence. As I say, in 2016, the web presence effectively is your shop front. This is your door. This is the thing that is available 24/7 for people to come and find. And when they do, it better do a good job of converting them into something of value. Otherwise, you might be finding the same thing that you find right now, where a lot of people are hitting it. Maybe you get 100 visits, maybe you get 200 visits, maybe you get 400 visits a month, but very little comes out of it. We want to try and change that. And without kind of relying on external platforms like Upwork and the like. So, copy advice, we'll look at some copy advice and some pointers for placement of content in and around the page. So perception in the real world. I'm going to tell a couple of stories really about how perception in the real world of big business influences price, and how positioning influences price. So a couple of years ago, the Rolls-Royce brand was wrestled from Volkswagen into BMW. BMW wanted to take over that brand quite a bit. The Rolls-Royce brand up until then had been one of prestige, one of heritage, a top bracket brand. But what BMW realized was that they could combine the manufacturing of their BMW 7 Series with the manufacturing of their Rolls-Royce Ghost vehicle. The vehicle on the right here costs $100,000. The vehicle on the left costs $300,000. 1 in every 4 parts is the same. It's got the same engine. So what's happening here? Why is one vehicle, which has 1 in 4 parts that are the same and the same engine, triple the price of the other vehicle. Basically, it comes down to perception. So the way that Rolls-Royce frame everything what they do is all around that prestige, that heritage, that top level, that lifestyle touch. Yes, there are some improved features inside. Yes, there are some other fancy bits that BMW doesn't have. But under the surface, what they do is the same. So freelancer level, if you are competing, if you're going out there and saying, hey, we do websites, or we write content, or we do marketing, and guess what? You are exactly the same in terms of positioning as another person saying, we do marketing, we do websites, we write content. So instead, what you should look to do is move away from that and say, okay, what do I do differently? And why do I do it better? And why should you come and work with me? And why will I solve your problem? And why will I make your life better? You see where I'm going with this? If BMW were decided with the Rolls-Royce brand to say, okay, here we have two cars. They both have four wheels. They both have an engine. They both will get you from A to B. Do you think they'll be able to justify that price difference? So what they have done instead is to build a brand around that, build a perception of prestige, build a perception of heritage, and really build a brand that is desirable, because with enough desire, there are no obstacles to the sale. If a client wants what you have so much, nothing will stop them. It won't be budget. It won't be time sensitivities. There's very little that will stop somebody if they really, really desire it. So what Rolls-Royce does well is to build that desirability and really move away from the nuts and bolts. So I see a lot of people on freelancer sites all the time saying, hey, I build websites in HTML5 and CSS3 and jQuery. So what? Does the client really care about that? If they do, then great. You've maybe hit 1 in 100 there. But what about the other 99? The other 99 that have no idea what HTML5 is, have no idea what CSS3 is, nor do they care, but want a website that solves their specific problems. The person that comes to the table and says, hey, I see you having a problem with this. I see you having a problem with people hitting your site and it not being responsive, not being mobile ready. I see a lot of those people are moving away. Well, what I can do, as I've done with other people like you, is to help you build a mobile and responsive site. It's going to do this, this, and this, and that helps you because of that. That's much more compelling an argument than we do responsive websites or we do HTML5 websites. And the same is true for every industry. I don't care what industry it is, the fact will be the same. You've got to speak to the worldview, speak to the desires, the beliefs, the fears of that prospective client, and understand that you're not supposed to be competing on a like-for-like basis. The BMW doesn't compete with the Rolls-Royce on the like-for-like features. Instead, it focuses on what's different. And if you can focus on what's different between you and the million others that a client could choose, then you're going to be going in the right direction. So BMW do this really well. It's the same reason why Apple products, I've got an Apple product right here and probably one in my pocket, and I've got an iPad somewhere else. It's the same reason why they don't describe themselves as a tablet like the other tablets do. You know, they don't describe themselves as a laptop like the other laptops do. And there's a reason why it's 5 times more expensive. Do the parts cost 5 times more? Nope. Does the manufacturing cost 5 times more? Nope. Does the marketing cost 5 times more? Nope. The difference is the brand value. The difference is the perception of value that you get from these products. Apple is a good example. Their margins are humongous. They make so much money that they're finding it difficult to store it and not get taxed on it offshore. You know, they're having real problems with the amount of cash that they have, which is a great problem to have. But that only comes from having huge margins, which only comes from differentiating themselves from the market, positioning themselves at a higher price point, and people just buying it and desiring it. So what I want to help you to do is to say, okay, well, what do I do differently? I might not be the world's best designer. I might not be the world's best designer, but I sure am going to be able to explain it better than everybody else can, and explain it in a worldview that person at the other side of the desk can understand and can engage with and can desire. And that's the objective of this month, positioning yourself such that you're much stronger. Same is true for us, for me. You know, this is me starting out. Average project over time. These are numbers and figures that are rising over time. Why are they rising? Why am I able to come to bill now 100 times more than when I started? You know, do projects now take 100 times longer? Not really. Are projects now 100 times more complex? Nowhere near. Is the output 100 times better? Well, probably not. You know, maybe it's 10 times better. Who knows? But if you look a little deeper, what is the 100x difference? Well, the 100x difference is the way that we put ourselves forward. And the hour, again, you should hopefully know this by now, but I head up an agency here in the UK, tone.co.uk. And I grew that from a freelancer, from a shared co-working space. Is the way that I put myself forward and the messaging and the perception that we have 100 times better? Yes. Do we look 100 times more credible than I did then? Absolutely. So is the perception of value that somebody's going to get from working with us as an agency versus us as a freelancer 100 times better? And the answer across the board is yes. As I said, on a project that's 100 times more difficult. We're not working on a project that's taking 100 times longer. It's just the perception and the value that we've built up deserves that 100x price increase. So if you want to get a 100x pay rise, then describe yourself 100 times better. Positioning yourself 100 times better. Hopefully this is sinking in now. Is still seeing this. I've got plenty of viewers on there, and then the number doesn't seem to be going down too much. So I'm going to take it from that people are still watching, and that I'm not talking to myself on a screen here. So strong positioning. Just to recap that, just kind of complete that sort of story there. Strong positioning helps to build a connection between you and would-be clients. It helps to repel bad apples as well, because part of my book, Stop Thinking Like a Freelancer, a good crux of that is talking about repelling bad apple clients while at the same time attracting the good apples. Now, how do you do that? Well, you talk about things that a bad apple client may find frustrating or a blocker. You know, how many times has somebody said to you, oh, can you just give me a proposal, or can you just give me a price, without really wanting to dig into it too much with you? You probably get it. You probably had it this week. I know that I have. So instead, what you need to do is put obstacles in front of them, put things in place, put processes in place that a good Apple client will see as, yeah, that's prudent. Of course, I need to talk to you about what the ins and outs are of this project before you give me a price. Of course, we need to make sure that the chemistry is right between us before we go any further with this. Things like that will just be hurdles for bad Apple clients, and they won't want to know. So you'll save yourself a lot of wrangling by changing what you do, changing the way that you message and position yourself such that it repels the people that want it quick and cheap and yesterday, and instead helps you to build longer term relationships with people that you actually want to work with. So good positioning does that. Good positioning gives you the license to say, well, you know, there are a couple of things I need to get from you first. I want to make sure that the connection is right. I want to make sure that the chemistry is good. All those things are going to be music to the ears of good Apple clients, and actually will turn off bad apples. So strong positioning lays the foundation for a higher price point, of course. What is the point in going to all this effort to separate yourself from the market if you're just going to build the same as everybody else does? What is the point? The point of good positioning, the point of strong positioning, is to say, well, no, I realize that there is a million other people that you could choose. I realize this. But let me tell you why I embrace that. There's a difference, you know. As I say, when you're an Upwork or an Elance or whatever, you'll see some jobs and they'll have 110 proposal responses. How the hell is the client going to be able to see who out of that bunch, who out of that sort of 100 people is the best ones to be working with? It's very difficult, and that's really why as well a lot of projects never even get off the ground. It's just overwhelming for the client at the other side. So instead, if you can catch them on another part of their information journey, and as a quick segue there, one of the things we talked about in June was to say, well, what is a client's journey? And a client's journey goes something like this: pain, research, action. Pain, something troubles me about my business, about my life, about something that's not optimal for me. Research, I want to figure out why that pain just happened. I want to figure out the quickest way to get it solved. Action is when they go to market. Action is when they start, okay, I've figured out what it is that's the problem, and now I need somebody that's going to help me solve this problem. So when we're talking about positioning and we're talking about putting yourself out there as different, you're going to move back from catching people when it's action time, which is what people on Upwork do. It's too late then. Somebody already knows what they want and you're competing with hundreds. Instead, move into the sort of research phase. How can you go and interact with them and intercept them when they're in that research stage? By figuring out what things they care about, by figuring out what they want. So again, that's the benefit of that strong positioning, as we have on here. It just lays the foundation for a higher price point, and ultimately allows you to stand out and showcase a unique voice. Again, looking at what a client's options are, you're not going to be the first, you're probably not going to be the last freelancer that a client will see today or tomorrow or this week. If they're going down that paying, research, action sort of path, if they've got to the action point, they already have a brief in their hand, they already know what they want and roughly how much they want to pay for it. So what we want to do is get them somewhere in the middle where they're still not quite sure what the solution is to their problems, and then here you pop up with a website with strong positioning which says, oh, hey, I know that you had this problem before. It probably meant that you've had this knock-on effect. Well, I've worked with other people that were like you and were in your position, and here is how I have resolved it for them and how I can probably resolve it for you. That is very different as an approach to I do boom, 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 bullets. And again, you'll see this with sort of out of the box themes and things like that for freelancers, where you almost have fill in the blank sort of capabilities and bar charts for here's how good I am at WordPress, here's how good I am at HTML, here's how good I am at writing or translation or whatever it is. It's unfortunately wrong in a word. It's not in a language or in a worldview that the client understands or cares about. Do they care whether you're this far up the WordPress expertise ladder or this far? No. So as a result, just get rid of it and instead explain in words why you are different to the other people that are out there. So we're going to be talking about words a lot. We're going to be talking about copy a lot. And it's even more important, actually, if copy doesn't come naturally to you, if writing doesn't come naturally to you. So what you do instead is you go, boom, 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 freelancer website, and you look at everybody else out there and you copy them and you make the exact same mistakes that they've already made. What I'm going to try and help you to do is to see it a little bit differently. So before I jump back into the slides, let me just check if we have any other comments on here. Looks like, yeah, okay, we're coming through YouTube. Watch this on YouTube. Yep. Yeah, okay, cool. Okay, so yeah, you can see me on YouTube by the looks of it. And a question there from James to say, where is the YouTube link? So on the event page, which you'll have landed on originally, on the right-hand side, it's got like a little tooltip there for links. In there, you got the YouTube page as well. Okay, so so let's move forward and into that. Okay, let's move into the next slides. So strong positioning gives you all those things. It gives you the ability to build a connection, to repel bad apples, lay the foundation for a higher price point, and stand out, separate yourself from the herd, which is something again that I talk about quite a lot. All right, so let's define then. Let's dig into it a little bit deeper. Let's define perception. The first impressions are everything, or at least they influence a lot of what happens thereafter. But what else? And when it comes to business, what is it that people are seeing? What is it that people are looking at? Firstly, I'll explain what I mean by be the purple cow. So if you've ever seen or heard of the book The Purple Cow, or I think it's just called Purple Cow by Seth Godin, it's a great book for really starting to get a very simple analogy for this. So he talks about riding down, I think it's through France, with his family. He's in the car, he's driving down the motorway there, and he sees these huge cows. And his family are amazed by this because obviously not being European, it's a different look and a different feel. So they see cow after cow after cow, and every one of them fills them with wonder. And then after 10 miles, then they become a little bit less wondrous. After another 10 miles, they become a little bit less wondrous again. And after a while, they barely even notice that there are cows in the field. So what's happened there? Well, that sort of message, that overwhelm has ensured that everybody is invisible, ensured that everybody is the same. But what about if you're a purple cow? That would grab your attention, right? And that's the premise of the book. And I find that it's a good way to explain that, really. You know, if everybody's website is the same in freelancer world, and guess what? Clients are going to just go glaze over and turn off. But what if you can hit them with something that says, well, okay, I wasn't expecting that, and you hit the nail on the head. You really got me. You really understood the problems that I was having. What about if you could do that? What about if you could stand out, give them a quick, short, sharp surprise, and tell them something that they don't know, that haven't seen before. So this graphic here just explains really how perception is made up. This is a graphic of mine, not of Seth Godin's, and here's how I describe it. So your perception is influenced by 3 key areas. Your messaging, so how you talk about what you do, which something we're going to talk about quite a bit. The brand touch point, so everything that a client touches from you, whether that is something that they saw on Facebook, whether it's something that they saw on Twitter, or an ad that you put out there, whether it's your proposal, whether it's an email they received from you, whether it's your website, whether it's your face. These are brand touch points. These are you putting yourself forward to them in one way or another. It's a connection between you and the client. And then relevant experience, so how you've done it before. This all builds your perception. It builds a perception of you as a beginner, an intermediate, an expert, an authority, someone who's not very trustworthy, someone who's really trustworthy, someone who's friendly, someone who's not so friendly. All of these things jumbled up together build a perception. As with the Rolls-Royce example, all of these perceptions will influence what you can bill, what you can charge somebody. It's vitally important. I'll repeat that. All of these elements that form your perception influence what a client will pay you. I can't stress that enough. So it's in your interests, and it's your responsibility and your responsibility only to make sure that that perception is positive. To say, okay, I'm excited by this. This person understands me. This person understands my market because they've done it before. This person has touch points that I really enjoy. So I enjoy the look and feel of their website. It felt a little bit different. I enjoyed the fact that when they sent me an email, it wasn't hardcore salesy stuff. It was something of interest to me. I enjoyed the post that they did on that. Again, touch points. I enjoyed what they were saying about XYZ on their homepage, messaging. I enjoyed reading about the work that they've done in the past and feel it could be unique, feel it could be relevant to me. Relevant experience. So these are the things that will build a client's perception in you. And if you can get it to a point where it's a positive one, a positive perception, they're going to stick around. They're going to remember you. You're going to be that blip on their radar that they won't forget. And that's what we're trying to aim for here. As I say, messaging, brand touch points, and relevant experience. Having all these working in tandem and building a positive perception for you and what you do is vitally, vitally important. Okay, so when you are not sat across, in a coffee shop or at a meeting with a client, then the words that you choose and the words that you are important. Body language, you can all see my body language right now. If I was writing this down, then I'd have to work doubly hard for you to see that I was trustworthy, for you to see that I wasn't trying to fill you with things that weren't true, because my body language goes some way to fill in that gap. So what you want to do is to take away the element of body language, because it's not going to be there, and put down words that are going to help to firstly put some personality forward, but to give an impression of you as an authority, as somebody who knows what they're talking about, as somebody who's credible, and as somebody who's trustworthy. Because at the end of the day, you're going to ask them to give you money. There are no bigger obstacles than that. There's no more friction than that, than asking somebody for money, asking somebody to pay you. So what you got to do is to make it so that there is absolutely no doubt in the client's mind that you are the right person for the job. And when you can't sit across the desk from somebody, taking salesmanship right out of the equation, when you can't sit across the desk from somebody and say, look, I've done it for this person, this person, this person, I really like to work on this project. I can feel we can do this, this, and this. If you can't do all those things, then words are all you have. And when I'm talking about words, specifically, I'm talking about words on your website more than likely. Maybe you'll get to a proposal stage without a client having seen you. Maybe you won't. Maybe you'll talk to them on a call. Maybe you won't. Maybe you'll email them. Maybe you won't. But in any case, words are all you have, whether that's verbal or whether that's written. So choose wisely. And Sam there, that comes from, if you go to the podcast section on and look for an interview with the non-tenant. It's a great interview. It's only about 12-13 minutes. I recommend to take a look at that from a copywriting perspective. He calls it SAM. You could call it a customer avatar, you could call it a dream client, you could call it a persona, whatever. He calls it SAM. Give them characteristics, give them obviously a name, and give them the things that they care about. So their desires are this, they're scared of that, they really want this, and they're already trying this. If you can give them these characteristics, you can begin to speak in a language that makes sense to them. Speak in a worldview that makes sense to them. So when you're not sat across from the table, words are all you have. So it's important to get words right. And just to recap really then what clients want, because it ties into copywriting, clients want to feel confident that you understand their unique situation. So how can you use words that are going to make them feel confident of that? They need to be motivated by the outcome and care enough about the positive change. So how are you going to talk about it? How are you going to motivate them with words? How are you going to get them to care about that outcome? It's going to be a positive change, whatever happens, whatever your service is. It's going to change their lives somehow, even if it's by a fraction of a percent. They're going to want to be able to see some intrinsic value in what you're providing. So tell them, spell it out. What do you bring to the table that other people don't? They want to be sure that this isn't a distraction. And this is common for any project work. If your project is going to take anything longer than a couple of hours, the chances are it's going to require some involvement from them. So they want to be really clear that you're not going to completely suck their time from them. So they want to be sure that it isn't a distraction. So how will you say that in your copy? They need to know that they have the financial resources to cover your fee. So again, when we're talking about words down the line, we're going to start to drop in rough ballpark ranges for costs. You shouldn't be scared of price. You should use price as a kind of indicator really as well as to whether you can carry on this conversation. Pretty much, and again, this is sometimes a negative thing, sometimes a positive thing. We often talk to clients in the early stages and say, hey, we're building sites that do this, and this, but there is ultimately an investment there to be made. Our websites or marketing services start from this and they go up to about that, and the range is really wide. So the range might be is about $10,000 in US up to like 60,000. So if a client isn't comfortable in that range, if they're not even comfortable at 10, then the chances are it's not going to be a good relationship for us all. So again, don't be afraid of price, and remember that everything that we're doing here, everything that we're doing is laying the foundation for a higher price point. I want you to be billing twice as much as you are today in a few months. It's possible simply by just changing the way that you position yourself. Number 6, client needs to be clear on how quickly they'll be able to see results. So even at a first glance, if you can tell somebody, look, we're going to have a website done for you in 10 weeks, in 12 weeks, we're going to have your content written in the next couple of days, and it's going to work then. We're going to create this video for you in 5 weeks, but it's going to make impact immediately after that. They want to feel part of the project. So tell them it, bring them into your process, bring them into why this is going to be a good project for them. Give them some of the technical fundamentals without going too far into it. I feel a sense of recognition for the project. So if you're not explaining to a client well enough why this is going to change what it is why it's going to solve the pain that they have, why it's going to stop them from going away and trying all these other things that aren't working, then you're not going to be doing a good enough job of making them feel some sense of recognition. So you can say, well, I'm going to solve this problem, which is going to give you the benefit of X, which is going to then help you to be seen as Y. You're going to see some recognition for this. And again, if all of these things are in place, and they don't all need to be in place, if you can get 4 of these working well, you're going to have enough to get to the point of having the client make a real decision about you. And that's all that we can do at this point. So I've got some examples here, some real world examples of how I've helped others, perhaps in your position, to get this understood. So how many times have you seen a headline like this, or kind of a homepage like this? Freelance front-end developer based in Lisbon, currently available for freelance work. My name is Tiago Duarte, and I am a front-end developer with love for all things web, technology, and design. Now you read that as a peer of Tiago's and you kind of say, well, that's okay, that's kind of expected. So if you see that 10 times throughout the web, then what are you going to do when it comes to writing your headline? You're going to write exactly the same thing because it's the done thing, because you're looking at it from a peer's point of view rather than a customer's point of view, rather than a client's point of view. So what we did was look at it and say, okay, well, that's all well and good, but I kind of know that anyway. If I've landed on your site and I can figure out quickly that you're a front-end developer, then you've not really told me anything else here. You've taken up 30 words, you've taken up probably 2 seconds of my time or 4 seconds of my time telling me things that I already know. So instead, why don't you tell them something that they don't know? Hiring more developers isn't the answer. What you're really looking for is someone who understands your business. Okay, you've got my attention. I'll help you boost engagement, overcome the cheap developer trap, and completely transform your website. So Tiago was one of the first members of Pledge. So I've sent a couple of emails out about it. It's going to be starting in September. Again, ask me in the Q&A if you want any more info on that. I'll stop short of going too far into it now because time is ticking on. But Pledge is a 10-week intensive program where it's me assisting 15 members specifically, like doing things like this, saying, okay, let's look at exactly your website page by page. Let's look at your proposal page by page. Let's have a look at your pricing structure. Let's have a look at your previous work. Let's have a look at how you talk to clients. Let's have a look at the software that you use. Building a business in 10 weeks that's radically different. I reckon it's about a year's worth of progress packed into 10 weeks and working with me on a one-to-one basis. And that's why it's only capped at 15, because there's an element of my energy involved in that. So Tiago was one of the founder members of the first time I did Pledge. I've done it twice before. This will be the third time. And yeah, this is what we came up with. And again, a second example here. Short and sweet. And again, you'll see this quite a lot. Or what you'll probably see a lot is which is just a huge hello. If you have that on your website right now, please let me know so I can tear it apart. You shouldn't be saying it. It's very 1997 to say hello on a website these days. It's just the granted thing that when you go to a website, you're not having an interaction with somebody. It's a dated thing from the past of saying, hello, this is my website, I do things. But people know that now. You don't need to go through that sort of pleasantry bit. So John's site said, hello, my name is John Weimer. I create apps for mobile, which is okay, kind of gets to the point, but doesn't really solve the problem of that client. So what we did was dig into his client, dig into what kind of things his client will desires, and we put together something like this to say, well, you have an iOS app, but need to serve the growing number of users requesting Android. You don't have time to waste. We'll use your existing iOS version to create a fully functional Android app your users will love. So again, changing the language, making the language specific to them, specific to their needs. What are they trying already? What pains are they having? What have they tried before you? What other stuff do they want to achieve thereafter? What is the journey to them getting to you, getting to this point? What is their pain, their research, their action? If you can wrap all that into some copy, and again, I've got a little bit of structure here for you to look through, a good job of positioning you as different to everybody out there. So really what you want to be talking about initially is pains, you know. A headline, which is going to be your starting point, is around about 10 to 15 words, and an optional then supplementary paragraph if you feel it needs it. It should have an implied promise. So what are you going to do, and why is that different, and why is that unique? It should have an element of intrigue. Well, okay, tell me more. If you can get somebody to sort of, I'm going to need to do the facial expression for this, but if you can get somebody to say, okay, let's read more. If you can get somebody to do that, then you're like 60% of the way there, just at the very top there. If you can get somebody to stay around for long enough to say, okay, that makes sense, then you're going to get them to continue to read. The purpose of your headline is to get them to read the next bit. The purpose of the next bit is to get them to read the next bit. The purpose of that bit is to get them to read the next bit, and so on. And if you can get them to a point of saying, okay, I'm interested to learn more about this, then the copy part is done. That job is done. And at that point, you can then move into more softer areas. So like telephone chats on Skype or in-person meets. So it starts with the headline. 10, 15 words, an implied promise, and it doesn't even need to be implied. It could be direct. You could be saying, I promise to do you this. There's nothing wrong with doing that. An element of intrigue, it should spark their interest to read on as well. So what pains is your audience feeling? Ask yourself these questions, and perhaps write these down as well, and you'll get the slides for this session, but have a think about this. So what is a client's surface problem? And when I say surface problem, what I mean is, what problem do they think they have? What problem are they going out there to try and solve? I often give the analogy, and again, if you've been a long time member of Freelance Live Pro, you'll hear me say this a lot, but it's kind of like going to a doctor and saying, doctor, I have this weird pain in my shoulder. That's the surface problem. And if you, the doctor could say to you, oh, okay, so you have a pain in your left shoulder, but does it start like in your right leg and kind of work its way up and then across and there? And you would say, well, yeah, doc, that's amazing. How did you know that? And then if he was to then, whatever he would prescribe thereafter, you would be listening to, you'd be like, okay, this person knows what they're talking about. They've just advised me on the journey that's happened to my problem, the surface problem. So if it's a video, their surface problem might be they just can't get any eyeballs on their web properties or on their marketing. They have no brand awareness. So the thing that they're trying to do is say, I've got no brand awareness. How can I get more brand awareness? But what you might say as a videographer is, videos. So have you noticed that your market is doing videos and doing really well there? Have you noticed that they are stealing market share away from you, and that's resulting in you having no brand awareness? The brand awareness bit and their struggles with marketing is the surface problem, but the deeper problem beneath it is that their market, the people that they're competing with, is shifting away from them, and they're just not keeping up. So what your job is to say, well, I understand that the problem that you feel you have at the moment is this left shoulder, but what I'm going to tell you is that the root cause is this, and then it follows on, and this happens, and this happens, and this happens, resulting in that. If you can explain that to a client, you're going to maximize that impression that they have of you. You're going to give them the chance to say, wow, this is new information. And that brings with it an inherent trust factor, a credibility factor that it's just impossible to achieve many other ways. So what's their surface problem? What are they trying already? What things are they already trying that looking to solve this problem, but that may or may not be working? What likely brought them to your door? How did they find you? And what else have they been looking at? What outcome have you provided for others? So you should always be talking about other client projects, always, but never, ever, ever, especially as a, you'll find me talking about designers quite a bit, because it is the space that I'm most familiar with as a designer, but also it's easy cannon fodder, because again, you'll see on a freelance designer's website, sometimes we'll make the cardinal mistake of just having an image of the portfolio item, or best case scenario, click and it opens out to something that shows the page, because it's not giving, yes, it's giving them a pretty picture, but it's not explaining the journey. It's not explaining the problem that client had and how you helped their business and why that matters to that client that's looking at it at this moment in time. So again, they've got to understand why or how you're doing it for other people and why that matters to them. Why will this time be different? So doubtless they've tried, other people maybe had mixed experiences. So why is it going to be different for you? What are their desires? What do they desire from this? What are their beliefs? What are they scared of? What are their fears? Well, who do you do this for? So again, we've talked a lot about specializing down, and we'll talk about that in just a second. Specializing down on not even necessarily a market, but just specializing down on an area that you can focus on, whether that's a job title, whether that's a sector, whether it's a locality, whatever. You should be able to show and be able to write about who specifically you work with best. Why should they stay on and read more? So again, these are just ideas and questions that you should be asking yourself when you're starting down the track of writing copy, when you're starting down the track of putting together a headline. Again, as I mentioned at the outset, if there's one thing that you take away from this, it's to change the initial thing that a client sees. So when a client hits your website, let's change the headline, or let's change the first bit of copy so that it makes them stick around for a little bit longer. it positions you as a little bit different to other people out there, but in a positive way. And then another question there again is, what do you do specifically that remedies their pains? And again, a good way of talking about that is to talk about how you've done it for other people. All right. So with that said, I'm going to jump over to the Q&A. I'm going to do a couple of sort of live reviews, really. So whoever has been brave enough here to put in their web address, I'm going to find it, and I'm going to. Okay, so this one is from Marie, and the site is beautifulsocial.com. So again, this is completely live and unscripted. So let's just see what happens here. All right, so beautifulsocial.com, beautiful social media services. Oh, okay. Straight off the bat there, I can see improvements, because beautiful social media services is somebody at this very moment in time looking for a beautiful social media service. Yes, I completely get that it's the brand, and I'm not trying to have a go here, but what I would rather see is, which is probably somewhere down here, that what I'd rather see is something that really gives them that promise, that really gives them that desire to read more. So rather than beautiful social media services, I don't mind this. So beautiful social helps brands in luxury fashion and beauty industries excel on social media. I think that's good. Social media, so I would then try, instead of say words to the effect of, we provide social media strategy and social media strategy and management for this that helps this, that helps whatever it's going to help. Does it help get more eyeballs, just brand awareness? Does it help them to sell more products? What is the benefit? What is their desire when it comes to what it is that you're offering? If we jump back to some of the things that the clients will care about, what are we trying to convince them of? Because this is the point. What is their surface problem? Are you talking about the surface problem already? I can't see it. So I'm just reading this as I'm going down. So we thrive to help you connect with your customers on their favorite channels in the most qualitative way. I like that more. I think I prefer that more than the top bit. So connect with your customers on their favorite channels. I like that. At that moment in time, it's very clear to the person that's looking at this, like, oh, okay, I get it. By using Marie's services, it's going to help me to connect with more people. Put simply, connect with more people, but then let's give a benefit of that. So social media services that'll help you connect with your customers and will give this benefit. Let's have a look here, see what else there is. Real partnerships and connections, stuff like that is good. Clients all over the world, that's cool. That's all stuff that you can use later down. So I think you can be a little bit more direct in this bit up here. If you need to use the sort of beautiful social media services, I don't mind that, but I would relegate that a little bit further down the page. I would make that a little bit less prominent. Let's have a look what's in here. Oh, knowledge center. So are we saying that that you have no knowledge about the industry? Okay, so that's fun. So again, that's something just to fix. And ultimately, it's if this genuinely doesn't have anything, or if it's quite a new site, the design actually is really good. I do like that. The design's cool. But yeah, just make sure that people aren't ending up at dead links, because again, these are like surefire ways to stop people in their tracks and say, oh, that was weird, and distract them, really. What we're trying to do here is, the design is very clear, and it looks like a Squarespace site. And again, to anybody that's looking, Squarespace is a great platform for building high quality sites fairly quickly. I'm not affiliated with Squarespace in any way. I just know it's fairly simple and fairly easy to do. So yeah, so for you, Marie, I'd definitely look to bring in some more of this stuff. So connect with your customers on their favorite channels. I like that. I like the fact that you can manage it for them and perhaps take away some of that take away some of that strain from them. And then I would just like to see perhaps a little bit of how you've done it for other people, even if it's something as simple as, a little headshot of somebody saying, yeah, Marie's work is great. It's helped me to increase my Twitter following by 10 times. I've got an extra sort of 100% followers, and that kind of thing. So hopefully that's useful. Again, you fell into the trap a little bit of kind of wanting to put something in that section, I feel. And again, that's probably one of the drawbacks of using a Squarespace site, because you almost said, oh, the panel is here, so let's try and use it. So hopefully, all right, yeah. So I think Marie's just responded on that, saying, lol, I created this site today, so of course there is no content yet. Well, you didn't inform me of that. And ultimately, if you're giving that email, if you're giving that address out, then just be ready for clients to just stumble upon that same issue. But yeah, let's I'll pull that out there now until it's done, and then yeah, go hell for leather on that. All right, okay, so I'm going to pick these at random. I mean, there's probably an order here of like first come first serve, but unfortunately I can't. They're all kind of equal, so I'm just going with what I can see. So let me just pull this up. So we have Christian Riggs. Okay, so this is Christian site, Riggs Creative. Okay, so first thing I see is just for you, but that's not really telling me. That's not really addressing my desires, my beliefs, my fears. It's not really giving me an implied promise. It's not really speaking to me, in a worldview that I perhaps can understand. It's not telling me why I'm in the right place. I've quickly pulled up some of the the things that clients want. Clients want to feel confident that you understand their unique situation. There's world-class, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so I think it's there somewhere. You've got the words in there somewhere, but it just needs to be a little bit more prominent, a little bit more focused. I perhaps feel that I'm getting a little bit distracted by this. So the feature print, but this is kind of the intro to the company. So I'd perhaps try and figure that out as well. So the positioning, again, we're talking about positioning quite a lot, but the positioning here is I can just about get that it's that it's creative, that it's web and print, but it's not giving me something that's out there. So client type, I don't mind this as well. And actually, this is sometimes when I speak to people about, okay, well, when I'm telling people about sort of creating a niche market, but I don't want to convert my whole site into golf brands in this case. That's okay. You don't really need to, as long as you can build a subsection for it, so that if you do ever speak to a golf brand, or if you do ever think, oh, okay, the golf brand's a fairly decent market, let's go and try and find some clients here, then you can push them to a section of your site. When I land on this, it's not really anything. It's more in the realm of basic portfolio stuff. So for me, I think perhaps just needs a bit more of a narrative on this site. It needs a few less distractions, a little bit more of, okay, well, tell me what to do. Tell me why you're different. Tell me why you understand me. Motivate me. Tell me what's going to happen from here, and tell me how you've done it before and why that matters. So again, I'm trying to click here and not a lot's happening. So work, websites. So approach, create new assets, clients. Creating a new website for our clients through user model best practices. Yeah. This is sometimes interesting to do. Is do something like this, where you take some of your content that you feel is kind of unique, and see how many people are saying the exact same thing. It's quite eye-opening sometimes. So people around the world are saying the exact same thing. They're saying our custom websites are affordable. Our custom websites are affordable. Our custom websites are affordable. So what you have to do sometimes is put yourself in the position of the client who wants to find people like you. They find you from one way or another, either from something you're putting out there when you're building attention, or from a referral. And when they land at you, they want to see something that's going to excite them in a way. They want to be given something that's kind of use to them. So if you're looking at showcasing your work, then do it in the context of telling them why it's relevant to them. I'll just quickly, again, you can check this out for yourself, but so what we do on the Tone site is to talk about work, the work that we're doing. So again, a clear call to action into the key section. So let's just go with this one. Before and after, that's useful. And then it's talking about specifically the things that they are doing, the things that they needed. So a site that wasn't representative of modern design standards. So if we say to somebody, okay, well, your site looks terrible, then we need to give them positive spin on that. So we can say something like, well, site wasn't representative of modern design standards. So what we wanted to do is position them as a market leader. That matters to me, and that makes sense. If I'm also looking to be a market leader. So responsive design, impact, user mapping, we've got a client video there. Don't know who that guy is. And yeah, with the final say. So we go a little bit deeper into portfolio items. And that's just a simple way really of giving you the ability to kind of speak more directly, because you can say things that you wouldn't otherwise say, or that you would say in a proposal, but you can do it in the context of how you have helped the client. Okay, let's grab another one here. So this is Craig. This is iartisan.com. Let me just grab that up. Okay, results-driven website, web development, online marketing. I don't mind that. I think that's that makes some sense. At max level, I don't know. I mean, like, I kind of get it, but if again you're looking to convince people that you're the right person for this job, I think that's not necessarily what they want at this moment in time. Yeah, at this moment in time, they're not. I don't think they're quite ready for trying to decipher a clever headline. So what I'd probably do is to just make it a little bit more obvious. I don't mind this, but maybe it's, if you're results driven, then tell me why you're results driven. Tell me why being results driven matters. What's the promise? What are you going to do differently? Why is being results driven beneficial? Why is being results driven different? Okay, so I think that's one for that one. We help build your business, build a relationship. Yeah, again, I don't mind. I think it's perhaps strolling a little bit into sort of buzzword territory though. So I mean, yeah, so 2026 like, yeah, so there's like 26,000 people using that exact same terminology. So yeah, so I'll look to make it a little bit more custom, look to make it a little bit more storyfight a little bit. I've got some pointers as well that we're going to go through in a minute. But yeah, just look to make it, and again, this applies across the board. Look to make it a little bit more relevant to the client, their worldview, their desires, their beliefs, their fears, their pains. What drives them? What are they scared of? What are they really looking to achieve? If you can put all that into copy, if you can piece that together into a website or a proposal, then what you're going to do is positively influence the perception that they have of you. As we spoke about previously, the positive perception that you can put together is going to influence the price that a client will pay. It's plain and simple. You want to positively influence the perception that a client has. You want to get all these things, the concentric circles that I had, working to make sure that they see you as credible, that they see you as an authority and somebody that they can trust. So on that point then, here are some sort of copy elements to consider. So I want to make sure that you have something to take away here, have something to action. So this is it. Here's what you'll need. So you'll need a headline, so 10 to 20 words. You'll also need a subheading is kind of optional, really, but it should it should begin to, it should just explain if it needs explaining your headline. So if you're making a bold claim, you need to explain why you're making that bold claim. So, in the headlines, those 10 to 20 words, you want to talk about their pain, talk about the surface problem that they have, and the triggers that have brought them there. What things happen, what things trigger them to say, I don't like this, I'd like to fix this. The subheading, again, 15 to 25 words. Who are you doing this for? What outcome do you provide? And why is that different to anybody else? So again, I'll just recap just in case you're jotting these down. For the headline, you want to just talk about the pain, the surface problem, the triggers that brought them here. What's the implied promise? Why is it working with you different? What are they trying already? The subheading should elaborate on that a little bit and tell them who you're doing this for. Make them have some connection, make them come to you and say, okay, that made sense to me because you told me, you explained my business, you explained that you wanted to work with people like me, so here I am. You also want to tell them why they're in this situation. So descriptively explain the steps that might have taken them to this point. So what experiences have they had before, and why are you better qualified than others to help them? That's about 100 to 150 words. How does your service remedy that pain? So again, you're looking at around about 50 to 75 words. Just speak to them in a language that they can understand, as if you were sat across from them. What would you say to them in person that you don't say on your website? And again, this is true for when we're looking at this is true when we've been looking at some of the sites here. What would you say? Would you say across the table to somebody and say, well, we do beautiful social media? Maybe you would, maybe you wouldn't. What you need to figure out is, again, if you were sat across from somebody, would you say your website and your brand at max level? Probably not. You'd explain a little bit more sensitively what it is that you do specifically for them. You would make it so that it makes sense to them, to their worldview, and to the journey that they've come on, and you would relate it back to that. And the final bit really is, what does victory look like? What is that point in 6 months' time where they punch the air and say, that's changed, that's great, I really enjoyed that process. Spell it out. Look descriptively. What was their life like before this and after this? I often talk about any purchase has an element of life improvement, has an element of either resource or an element of pleasure associated with it. So what is it in your case? Yes, you're writing copy for somebody. Yes, you're doing marketing. Yes, you're doing social media management. Yes, you're doing translation. But if you're solving a problem, if you're getting XYZ off their back, if you're getting somebody in their business off their back, if you're getting the customers to buy more stuff, what is it? What is the victory point? What, after 6 months' time, is success to them? If you can spell that out within 40 to 60 words, guess what? You're going to help them to sort of convince themselves the job. Remember what I said earlier, that with enough desire, there are no obstacles. So what we're looking to do with all this stuff is to build enough desire so that there are no obstacles and you have the best possible chance of making the sale. So, there's not a lot of words there. Anybody can do this, even if you're not strong as a copywriter. So I wanted to kind of just give you the benefit of my experience when it comes to the sort of A-league players. These are the people that I consider myself to be peers with, people that I've interviewed, people that I chat to on a regular basis, friends of Freelance Lift. Here are the things that they do, and hopefully those give you some motivation as we look to close this off. They make an effort not to target the internet. They have some descriptive sort of pinned down idea for who their client is. It doesn't have to be a sector. It doesn't necessarily have to be a job title. It just has to be something that isn't everybody. A lot of people just go with that sort of industry-wide norm of saying, we make websites for businesses, or we specialize in building websites, or whatever it is. Some throwaway sentence that doesn't make it really, really clear who should be interested. Again, we talked previously about repelling bad apples while at the same time attracting the good apple clients. So you'll only do that if you're being a little bit clear about who the client is and making an effort not to just target everybody. top bracket freelancers exist outside of their own web presence. They understand that the perception that the market has of them can be influenced by them stepping out, by appearing as a guest blog somewhere else, by appearing in sort of interviews, by putting things out there that are going to help more people see them. We talked about that quite a bit in the attention month last month in July, to talk about marketing and attracting attention. Existing outside your own web presence, think about that. Understanding that words are a common denominator. Top bracket freelancers do understand this. They understand that this is what we have, all we have, to connect with somebody when we're not sat across from them. They know that great design renders design vehicles secondary. So again, we're talking about the website here, and again, Marie's site was a good example of that. That it was good design. It was clean. It was clear. It's simple to follow. And they know that their site is a vehicle for starting a relationship. So these are 5 things that top bracket freelancers do that I thought I'd just drop in there. And again, we've in the few examples that we went through there, we saw a few kind of like same-isms, I call it, things that everybody else does, so that most people copy just because it's the same thing that everybody else does. I call it blending into the herd voluntarily. We specialize in building websites. Again, in inverted commas, you can figure out how many people are actually saying that same thing. 891,000. Content writing expert, 635,000. So people are glazing over. Remember, we were talking about the purple cow earlier. People using this type of terminology are just the ordinary cows. They're the things that people barely see anymore. They are the ones that bemoan the fact that nobody ever comes through the website. They don't get any business from the website. They have to either go on Upwork, or they have to get it referred in, or they have to do it themselves. They don't have any support from their positioning, their brand touch points, the things that influence the perception. It's not working in their favor because they're blending themselves in to the same crowd that everybody else is. They're not pulling themselves out of it. They're not acting as that purple cow. So I also wanted to just quickly, again, recap on some of the things that you can do as you feel like this is going a little bit quickly. The purpose of the workshops is to give you a little bit of focus, give you a guided period of focus to get some of this stuff done. However, books for the workbooks and the modules which you've already invested in, you've got all of the templates, the layouts. So like, for example, if you wanted to figure out how best to change your website so that you can lay out all this stuff in the right order, then there's a book for that. If you wanted to figure out how to go and get more attention, there's a book for that. If you wanted to figure out how to word what it is that you do so that clients desire it, there's a book for that. So I wanted to just remind you of that, and that's all in your library. So if you logged into your account, look on the top navigation, you'll see library. Simply, and it'll give you some areas to focus your energy on, narrowing your pool of clients. Again, based on these 5 things that top bracket freelancers do. Reworking your website, attracting some attention, making your client really desire what it is that you offer, and then giving them a proposal and a price which makes the sale probable, give you that probability. And I wanted to just give you a quick run through of, again, we're slightly running over here. Hopefully you've got another 5 minutes to kind of just get a handle on some of these other stuff. I'm going to give you a couple of examples of people actually doing it well. Top bracket freelancers doing it well out there. And this comes from the website module. So the module that runs through all of that. So that module is module 6. So if you go through module 6, you'll get all of these kind of insights to rework your site to generate some leads from it. And it'll give you something like this, which gives you a little bit of a guide for what your site should be doing, and aligns with these 10 things. I'm going to whip through these fairly quickly, but I just wanted to bring some of this in. This is actually from a different slide deck. I don't tend to repeat what I'm saying, but sometimes it's relevant to just drop it in to give you a little bit of inspiration, a little bit of motivation to actually go and dig into some of the deeper content that's inside Freelance Lift Pro. Kayla Wojcik, who is a videographer who films people saying stuff, put simply. So most talking head videos suck, yours don't have to. That matches his ideal client. That matches the worldview of the person that's viewing it. So it must, 10 things your site must do is fit the worldview of your dream client. So that does. The people that are coming to Caleb are already doing talking head videos, probably. They're already doing interviews, they're already doing things like I do with sort of workshops and sort of lessons and things like that. So he can help make them a lot better. It should follow design best practice. That can even be simplified. Marie's site definitely follow design best practice, and there's no excuse for that now with the advent of things like Squarespace, with things like Theme Forest, good design practices out there. It should leverage effective headlines. So this is a friend of Freelance Lift, Jared Drysdale. Put simply, his headline is, "The web is full of sites like yours. How will anyone know that your business is different?" And I really like that one because I think it where does he say website? Doesn't even say website, it says sites, that's it. But somebody who's reading that will say, oh, okay, that makes sense. Again, that facial reaction that gives them the impetus to move forward, to read a bit more, gives them a promise. His implied promise there is, I'll make sure that your business is seen to be different. That's his implied promise with that effective headline. It should tell them why they're in that situation. And again, we've spoken about that. So I've picked out this part here. Again, this is informationhighwayman.com, which is D non-tenant, BNONN, D non-tenant. If you like most small businesses, you didn't hire a copywriter to write your web content. Maybe you're starting to realize that was a mistake. So it should tell them why they're in this situation. And in doing so, you'll build a connection. Again, like the doctor example, if you can tell them what the steps are to them, then you're going to build that credibility. You're going to build that authority that gets them to see you as somebody that they can work with. It should show them your passion and your experience. So this is TN and Lax. And believe it or not, this is not a homepage. It's a case study. So by laying out a case study that it puts in so much effort, then you're going to really show passion there. So what they are showing to somebody, TN and Lax there, who were a small boutique agency that grew and grew and has actually been recently acquired by Facebook because the quality is there. What it makes them say is, hey, God, if they're putting this much effort into a case study, what are they going to put into my project? This page scrolls and scrolls and scrolls. I'm not suggesting that you go to that much effort, but if you put in the work to make them see some passion, see some experience, see some expertise, either in a knowledge center, for example, or on a long case study, you're going to get them to see you as somebody who's credible. And again, it's going to positively impact the perception a client has. Positioning isn't just about copy. Positioning isn't just about words. It's about everything. It's about the way that the brand touch points. It's about the messaging. It's about the work that you've done before. Remember those concentric circles. Consider that the perception a client has. Consider that your positioning. The messaging that you have, the words that you use, the brand touch points, so the way that you use those words, either in person, in your proposals, over email, on your website, or whatever, and then the work that you've done before, because that gives a perception. That positions you. That positions you as somebody who's working with lower end clients, or it positions you with somebody who's working at top end clients. All these things matter, and all these things positively influence how much a client will pay you. Again, back to the BMW and Rolls-Royce examples. One is 100,000, the other is 300,000. One in every 4 parts is the same. The engine is the same. The underlying kind of elements are pretty much the same, except one can bill significantly more than the other because they have perception on their side. Here are the remaining 5. So your website, and again, this stands really for all copy. You'll hear me a lot interchanging sort of you and your brand with your website quite a lot because, as I say, it's rare sometimes these days to meet with somebody face to face, to spend enough time with them so that they know you. For the most part, what they'll keep returning back to is your website. So your website really should be a substitute for you. So when you see it like that, it isn't just something that you can kind of leave and not update for months and years on end. It should be integral to you and your business. It should be a substitute for you, as I say. So you can interchange all these things with your brand. So 10 things your brand must do, or 10 things that you should do, or 10 things that you should say. These are things that you can interchange between you and your brand. So it should explain the solution clearly. It should maximize value. So you shouldn't just be saying, I design websites. You should instead be saying, I do this, and here's a little bit of a case study that I'm going to tell you something you didn't know about that, and here are the benefits of that. So by maximizing value, what I mean is giving them some value add from visiting you. Again, you're not going to be the first or the last website that they will see that day. So if you can bank something in their memory, it might be as simple as a stat. 90% of social media updates go unread, something like that. So you can then say at that point, well, I make sure that that number is a lot lower, sorry. Maximize the value of their visit. Give them something they don't know. Give them some nugget of information to take away. Point to a victory. Again, we spoke about in the sort of copywriting area. What are you going to say to somebody that's going to help them to visualize that finish line, that victory point, them punching the air and saying, wow, that was a positive experience? What are you going to say? Have a clear call to action. Again, give them something to anchor onto. Give them something to make some action with. What do you want them to do on your website? Tell them specifically after you've done all these things. And then passing the user test again. That's something that's kind of more specific to websites, of course. You can put it out to this platform called Peak, P-E-E-K, peak.usertesting.com. Run a search for that, Peak. Just put Peak user testing, and there's a little URL bar in there. You can actually place your URL in there, and what they do then is fire that off to somebody who doesn't know your business, who doesn't know you, who may or may not know your market, and ask them to pretty much narrate what they're seeing. It's mind-blowing sometimes, because you'll see things so you'll see things that they've seen that you would never have seen otherwise. Again, like the example with Marie there, I stumbled across that, but so might a client and so might other people. And it might be that you're just about to put the content on and so on, but at least it gives you that kick to get it done. Yeah, so that was the 10th one, pass a user test. So that's it for this this particular workshop. I'll just recap some of the things that we've picked up from this. So it was first about understanding how important perception is, how important positioning is, how important your messaging is, how important your brand touch points are, how important is the work that you've done for others, and how you can explain that. All of these things combine to give you a perception. We're talking about moving yourself away from the herd. We're talking about not being a regular old cow, being a purple cow, being something different, being something that's going to motivate people to make change. We talked about how you do that there. We talked about copy elements. We talked about how pains make great headlines. We talked about a copy structure. We talked about how to really get somebody to connect with you in a way that's going to transcend being needing to sit next to them and talk to them. We then talked about how those copy elements work into a website, and then really what your website should do and how other top-level freelancers are doing it already. So hopefully that's giving you enough motivation. And as I say, the theme for this month is positioning. The theme for this month is perception, improving a client's perception of you. So if you do only one thing, make it copy. Those copy elements, I can bring those back up onto the screen. Those copy elements are going to be vitally important to put together. If there's just one thing you do, make it that. Make it understanding those copy elements. Make it understanding what a client really wants from you. I'll just bring that back up on screen so that you can see it, and we can just run through it before we close off. So understanding the headline, understanding the subhead, understanding the section of content that explains why a prospect is in the situation that they are, explaining why your service remedies their pain, and explaining what a victory point looks like. These are all fairly simple things to put forward, but they're going to make a massive impact. Whether it's in your proposal, like the next time you send someone an email that says, here is the cost of this stuff, but then bring in like elements of the victory, bring in elements of the pain, compare it to what they could do by just going ahead and carrying on doing it the way that they've always done it. Okay, so with that said, hopefully that's made a bit more sense. The theme for this month, as I say, is positioning, is perception, is positively influencing that reputation that you have, and as a result, it's going to lay the foundation for a much higher price point. So, any questions then? I can see loads in here because it's getting flooded with stuff about the YouTube and the link mess up. So let's have a look here. Boom, 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 boom. This is a question from Adam. So Adam Whirling says, would you say that every business has something with client value that sets them apart from their competitors? Yeah. So let me read that so that I'm getting it right. Would you say that every business has something with client value that sets them apart from the competition? So what I'm getting from that is, does every business have something that's different? Well, yeah, provided, and again, one-person businesses and two-person businesses, which we all are. Obviously, I've grown mine a little bit now, but I'm talking as a general we here, and we have that one benefit over big businesses, personality. You know, we are a person. So, if nothing else, there is an element of a personality that's different, that differentiates yourself. Now, putting a correct spin on that, putting the correct angle on that is a huge benefit to a client, is a huge value differentiator. The problem is that most people go at it the wrong way. So instead of saying, so because they want to put forward some value that's different and differentiate themselves, they go, oh, okay, let's put these bar charts on here that show my skills off, or let's put this slider thing over here. But really, that doesn't address what the difference is. That just gives some information without any context. So instead, what you should always do is follow things like this. But worst case scenario, you should be talking about your experiences and why it matters to whoever's reading it at that moment in time. So you talk about your experiences and why it matters to that person at that moment in time. Because if you can do that, then you can put forward a benefit that's actually yourself. You are the benefit. You are the differentiator here. And again, that applies across the board. Talk about their pain in a language that makes sense to them. Don't just bamboozle them with science. Talk to them about their pain and then tell them how you've remedied that pain in the past. Those two things alone will increase by 100% the success rate of people being interested in what you're saying. Talk about their pains and talk about how you've solved those pains in the past. If you can do those things and you can wrap that into 200 words and, you know, have some nice examples of previous work in there, you're going 80% of the way to making that positive change. So yes, everybody has something different, especially for a one-person business. The problem is that people don't see it, so they don't focus on it. They don't focus on, okay, well, what do I bring to the table that's different and why? Maybe they bring to the table what makes them different. Maybe they say, yeah, so I've got a Harvard education, I've got all these qualifications and I've got all these skills. But do I care as a client? Well, maybe a little bit, but not enough to make it a valuable argument against a million other people. It's just not a valid argument. So yes, everybody has something to give. Everybody has something that differentiates them. The trick is to explain it in a context that they understand, in a worldview, in a language that makes sense to their worldview. Okay, good question. Thank you. Yeah, so there's still some stuff about the link. Wait, can we see the 3-circle diagram again? Yeah, so Ben says, wait, can we see the 3-circle diagram again? Why, of course. And again, I imagine this was like from a question from previously, but I'll just pull it up on here because again, it's really relevant at, you know, at whatever juncture to always come back to what makes up a client's perception of you. So a client's perception and effectively your positioning is driven by, as I can see it, these 3 factors: your messaging, brand touch points, and relevant experience. So again, when you in any advertising, when you're faced with a brand that's doing advertising wrong, or their logo sucks, or the words that they use suck, it gives a negative impression of them. It positions them in such a way that they wouldn't be trustworthy. So that's the same for you. Even as a one-person business, you still will be emailing people, you still will be speaking to people on the phone, you still will be speaking to people on Skype. How professional are those touch points, are those interactions? How useful are they to the client on the other side? Messaging, how are you talking about what you do? How are you talking about what you do in a different context to the way that other people are talking about it? How are you standing out? How are you that purple cow? Relevant experience, how you've done it before. It's vitally important to cement that perception. Again, Rolls-Royce is a prestigious brand that's at the very, very top levels. It's done it before. It's been around there. It's had cars way back in history. The brand touch points are beautiful. The messaging is beautiful. Everything about it is aimed at that very, very top level. Yet the underlying stuff is the same. Again, going back to what I was saying about that 100x pay rise, the work that I'm doing isn't 100%, 100 times more difficult. It's not taking me 100 times longer. It's not 100 times better. But what we've been able to do is put ourselves forward 100 times more effectively, allow ourselves to look 100 times more credible, and as a result, make the perception that a client has of us 100 times better than where I started. So yeah, thanks for that. Hopefully it's been useful to just recap on that area as well. So YouTube's the blog. Yep. I think just keeping, yeah. So Tanya says, yeah, I think just keeping both tags open will do the trick. Yep. Hopefully it has. So Christian says, thanks for the input, Liam. Very much appreciate your analysis. No problem. Okay, so Josh says, what do you think of leading with a video, maybe a talking head video? I don't mind it. Yeah, don't mind it. So the problem is, or one of the issues you have, obviously, is there's some investment on the client's part to view that video. They know that there's going to be some energy required to press that button and to try and absorb what's going to be said. So what I would always say is, don't replace the whole thing with a video. Just have a video as a supplementary option. You can say, watch a 45-second summary of everything that I do. A client will then have a judgment to make as to whether they've seen enough from the words and from the touch points and from the design and from everything that they can see at that moment in time to trust you enough to press play. Number one. Number two, are they interested enough with the words that you have to see a 45-second summary? Number two, and then number three really is the video going to improve? Is it going to be worth their attention? Basically, a client will always make those judgments, really. So yeah, I don't mind it. I would always say back that up though with words. So if we're talking about a headline and a subhead, then maybe you can drop the subhead for the video, or maybe you can have the headline, video small to one side, and the kind of like the subhead to another side. So yeah, I don't mind leading with a video. It's a great way to prove. It's a great way to show some personality. It's a great way to, again, thinking about touch points, to show a quality, show how qualitative your work is. If you're putting a lot of effort into that particular video, then it's going to be quite successful. It's why I lead with videos quite a bit on the Freelance Lift site. So if you're not logged in and you go to the Pro Modules section, you get like a 45-second video there on the right-hand side. But in fact, the best, I'll probably just bring this up so you can see what I mean. It's kind of supplemented by words to the left. So let me just pull that up. So it's on incognito because otherwise I would be logged in. So, and again, the internet's quite slow because I'm like streaming and downloading at the same time. It eats up bandwidth. So knowing how to do the work in a business, knowing how to do the work isn't enough. You'll need the business bit too. There's more amount of direction, blah, 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 blah. So not to have freelance gig owners like a needy job, 10 modules or below. So at that point, the client has the choice to do either. So yeah, to answer the question, I don't mind having a talking head video to lead with, but you're going to need to give people other options. Don't just be as be as obnoxious to expect that they will read that, will view that video, because mostly they will not. And if you use Wistia, actually, you'll be able to find out how many people do not as well. Wistia is a good platform for hosting videos, actually, just by the by. Okay, so we've got anything else here? Okay, so Christian says, what's the best method to present a business that has 3 core service offerings? Do you create a unique landing page for each core service, or do you show them all on one page? I don't mind showing them all on one page. I think the problem that we had with your site, though, was that they were all given equal prominence. So if they genuinely do have equal prominence, which is okay, then I would have another section above it that summarizes what everybody is about to see. Again, with the Freelance Lift site, what I do on the homepage is keep it very simple. When you land on the homepage, there's the main section stretches to however wide the monitor is. You got a headline, you got a sub headline, and then you got like 5 key areas that they can go into. So they can either choose to dig into one of those areas if that makes sense to them, or just read that, or just read and scroll, or do a bit of both. So to answer the question, I don't mind showing it on one page. I would just reduce the prominence of those. To begin with, if all services lead to the same end result, so if that same end result is more sales for the client, or better brand awareness, better marketing, whatever it is, then you should talk about that first. Talk about the key benefits, talk about why you're different, talk about the pains that they're having, and then tell them within those 3 service levels how you solve those problems, how you resolve those pains. So yeah, I don't mind showing them on one page, provided that you can have something above that gives a snapshot really of what you do before you go into those 3 key areas. Okay, Tim says, thanks for the inspiration. Been doing this a long time, and it's nice to get a fresh perspective. Okay, great. Thanks for that feedback. It's again, it really helps. I have been doing this for some time, but it's always useful to hear things like that, because it helps me understand that I'm on the right track here. I do interact with everybody on Slack, of course, and get regular emails and stuff. But it's useful to just hear that it's making sense to you. Okay, so if I, oh man, there's lots of site reviews on here. Yes, I'm not going to have time to do these now. So what I'll probably do, I might take what you have here on the right hand side and do a kind of mini follow-up like tomorrow or something, because there's definite value from that, and hopefully you're finding value from me just reading a website basically. So I don't want to just pick one, but there's like 10 there. So instead of doing that, I'll do a follow-up video where I'm just doing some reviews here for you, because again, I find them useful as well, because it helps me to fine-tune my abilities to spot things fairly quickly and help solve problems, which is again the purpose of Pledge, the purpose of what I do actually at Freelance Lift, to help you solve problems within your tiny business and make that business a little bit more profitable, a little bit more enjoyable, and go back to your craft again and enjoy what you do. So with that, I'm going to sign off. So again, thanks for joining. The numbers have been very consistent today, so I'm happy about that. That gives me, with the technical hiccups, at least the comfort that the information is making sense. You wouldn't stick around for this long otherwise. So again, thanks for taking an hour and 40 minutes of your day. Useful. It's a useful, expenditure of your time. As I say, I'll send you the replay of this session. I'll also send you the slide deck too, just so that you have everything to refer back to. And yeah, everything that we're doing here is to push you forward. Theme for this month is positioning and perception. So fire any questions into the Slack channel and let's get talking. So again, good to be on this session. This is Liam signing off. This is the Freelance Lift Pro workshop for August.